Guys, welcome back to Hypnovision. Today, I want to just kind of go off of the cuff and talk about a few things that I have learned over the past few years when it comes to being around other people that seem to want to control your happiness or either be a happiness hater. Now, I want to point out that as a fan of Neville Goddard and someone who talks about it awful lot, the feeling is the secret, understanding the imagination, awakening to the inner aspects of yourself, that there is nothing but the imagination itself and the mental conversations that we have in our mind about how other people perceive us, or shall I say, how we think other people perceive us. But there is a phenomenon of these things, such as happiness haters. What I mean is, there is a point of awareness where you become aware, but before that happens, you were unaware. And so I want to really discuss from that point of view of the before and after. So one of those aspects is happiness hating. What is that and where does it come from? How does it manifest? Where in the conscious aspects of things is this coming from? Is it rooted in childhood? Is it rooted in the environment that we find ourselves in? Or is it just a figment of our imagination? So you might could set up a scenario like this. Someone goes through a change in their life and they have a glow up. Let's say that they are around people who are only happy for them or only try to cheer them up when they are going through something bad. But if they become happy without the people who normally would cheer them up, let's just say a couple um, one person goes through an event and all of a sudden they have a glow up. They start to see a brighter side of things in life. Now, the other person in that relationship might start to wonder, why is this person happy without me? What is going on? Why is this person having a glow up? And then they will start to become envious. They will start to become jealous. This is what I mean by happiness hating. One person can only be happy for the other person when something is going on in that person's life and they are coming in playing the role of the savior. This is a archetype in the conscious of things of different roles that we play. So the other aspect of this is how we think other people see us and how we feel about that. Now, one thing's for sure, as a mature adult, you are not responsible for how other people feel. You are only responsible for your reaction to them and your own feelings. So, meditation taught me that. It taught me to learn to sit still. It also taught me to generate my own feelings from the inside and not to seek validation from other people. So, we get into these patterns of things where if I can make someone else happy, then that validates my own self worth. And if that person becomes happy without me, then there must be something wrong. That person must be cheating. They must be doing something behind my back. There must be something suspicious going on. This is something of the shadow aspect of the human conscious itself. So I really want to dive into this because, in the end, once you start to see that all of this comes from the aspects of the shadow self, you will start to realize that there really is no enemy. There is no reason for competition. And once you get to a certain level of things, there is only collaboration and expansion, not contraction and competing for a something that seems to be a scarcity thing. This is a difference in a growth mindset versus a scarcity lacking mindset. And this is something I've covered a little bit when it comes to mindsets of things. But if your mind is open to trying new things and you're not trying to govern other people's feelings, you're not trying to govern or control someone else's feelings because it validates yours for some reason. This is a paradigm that once you shift it internally, then you're no longer trying to be a caretaker for other people who are quite honestly well capable of being an adult for themselves. Now you are free to collaborate with whoever you want to at any time you want to and to grow and experience new things in life. I learned this firsthand through making content, but it was something that I had to learn firsthand to see it for myself because nobody could tell me. Even if somebody did walk up and tell me, I probably wouldn't pay it much mind. So fear can make people do crazy things. Fear of abandonment, fear of losing, fear of not enough, fear of scarcity, fear of missing out, fear of this, fear of that, fear, 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 fear. There is no fear, there is no shortage of imagination for any human on this planet out of 8 billion people. So we can redirect our imagination into a different understanding of the world around us when we start to realize that there is an abundance of everything. There is no such thing as scarcity other than the illusion from our perception or our point of view that there is scarcity. So, if I had an ounce of shame in me about some of the topics that I've talked about on this channel, I would have pulled the plug on it a very long time ago. For that. Now, there is an understanding of what is coming from the imagination, what is the collective conscious of people, right? There has to be a sense of being grounded in reality, meaning you can create your own experience, but that doesn't mean that there are not other experiences that other people are having on this planet. That brings me to the other thing, being present. What does that mean to be present in the moment? That means to give your undivided attention to someone, open and honestly, equal give and take, to listen and respond. And that works both ways. But when we get into what Neville Goddard calls regret is a misuse of memory. Why do people regret things? Why do people feel bad about treating someone a certain way later on down the road? It's because they come to a realization that they projected a certain narrative onto someone. They lost control of that narrative, and now they have regret because they start to realize that the person that they did that to was actually a decent person. It was actually someone that they miss having in their life. And that regret stems from that long lasting memory. As much as you try to change the memory, it takes something else. It takes being able to be honest with self, and it also takes being able to be accountable for self. If you treat somebody wrong and you're not able to muster up the courage, muster up the manhood or the womanhood to look that person in the face and say, I'm sorry, I don't know what I was thinking. I really overreacted about X, Y, or Z. Then what can you do? You hold on to it? You continue living your life knowing that you were a jerk to someone and then sit around and regret them and feel bad and mess them and wish that you could have done something different instead of being a freaking adult and picking up the phone or trying to meet that person face to face and try to make a reconciliation. This is what I mean by being present in the moment. If you are present, if you are grateful, if you share gratitude, if you are about the experience that you want to have for yourself and giving that to other people so you can get that in return, then there will never be a reason for having regret. If you treat your mental conversations the way that you want people to treat you, there will be no need for regret. There will be no misuse of memory. Now, you can go into meditation. You can sit quietly and reimagine things. You can reimagine how your actions and reactions are moving forward. You can change those mental conversations, but that is not going to manifest someone back into your life magically out of thin air if you mistreated that person because you are still holding on to regret. You are still acting from that place. This is very important to understand what it means to be an actor. We are all playing roles. Life is indeed role play. And if you become the very thing that you hate, then what are you at the end of the day? It's very interesting the concept of human consciousness and the ego itself. They are two different things, but they are so interwoven, it is hard to separate them one from the other. People indeed take this monolithic point of view internally in their imagination, that first person view that is so fixed that they're not able to step outside of themselves and see someone else's point of view. When I started to write, like legitimately write for myself, doing journaling and writing stories and archetypes and different things like this, it started to help me to understand this on a much deeper level. Writing stories means that all of those points of view are coming from the author. The author is writing for person A, B, C, D, and so on and so on. So you have to come up with all of these different um, communication points and story arcs. What is the purpose of these people exchanging with each other? So the imagination is very, very capable of doing this. Most people just simply either don't know how, they are unaware, or no one's ever really taught them. So regret, and doing things from fear, inner fear, fear of being seen. If you have a fear of being seen, then what type of actions are you going to take? Then are you going to be jealous or envious of someone else who does not have a fear of being seen for getting attention that you feel like you want or you feel like you deserve for yourself? And then you start to compete and act from that place. It's very fascinating, guys, when we really peel back the layers of consciousness and really look at things. The other aspect of someone having a glow up and another person being envious of that comes from these type things: a fear of being seen, a fear of being not recognized, not acknowledged. But if you act from those places, then you will come across as attention seeking. What happens when someone finally gives you the attention that you've been going above and beyond to get, and then now all eyes are looking at you and you have nothing to say? You see where I'm going with this, right? Attention is our focal point of our imagination. It is also the focal point of the narration of our self story that we are telling ourselves internally in that little noggin of ours. So, the more that we are able to use our imagination to cultivate mental conversations with different people, whether they are close knit people in our lives or whether they are people that we briefly have exchanges with, treating people the way that you want to be treated is going to give you that best reflection or the best give and take that you can possibly want for yourself. If you want love, give love. If you want peace, give peace. If you want joy, give joy. Don't try to steal someone else's happiness. First of all, you can't really steal somebody else's happiness. If they are self-aware and they know their worth, then you can't really steal it because they know better than to try to manage someone else's emotions, manage someone else's feelings. Only someone who has an insecurity within themselves that has not become aware of it yet will try to control someone else's feelings. They will do things that will make you unhappy because of the very fact that you are happy and that happiness is not stemming from them. I will do this because you're happy, not based on me. Make that make sense. When you really stop and think about it, it's hard to make that make sense. And it's really revealing to the underlying causes of actions. Again, I'll take this back to, you can say one thing, but your actions really read something else. And that's very, very interesting when you pay attention to things. Attention is that focal point of our story, our narration, what we are telling ourselves internally, how we think someone sees us versus how we see ourselves and how we see that other person. If I think this person sees me as a loser, then I'm going to start to act very different towards that person. The actions are coming from how I am thinking from perception. You don't have to do certain things for other people because you feel like it is wrong if you don't. There is, in the narcissistic things, the story, right? I went through this for a couple months where I asked myself a lot of questions. Am I a narcissist? Because some of the things is that the narcissist will always twist the story and make it to their benefit. However, even with Neville Goddard's teachings, the power of revision to be able to revise your self story, you could go down a slippery slope of being confused. Does this mean that this is what a narcissist does? No, it's not exactly what a narcissist does. The difference really is long-term patterns, patterns that repeat themselves over and over and over. The difference is that once you learn something, you learn a lesson firsthand and you decide that it's not for you, you change. That means the pattern goes away, it no longer exists. If you have an outburst, everybody has a bad day, you have an outburst, and within a few minutes of the outburst, you go, wait a minute, I was totally in the wrong about that. I should apologize. And then you go and apologize. That doesn't make you a narcissist. But if you have a pattern of blowing up at people and then apologizing with an empty apology and then do it again and do it again and do it again, long term patterns, that is suggesting that, yeah, you probably do have a problem that you are avoiding parts of your shadow self. You're not responsible for other people's feelings. You can magnify other people's feelings. You can experience a greater magnitude of your own feelings by becoming in alignment with someone else. However, it is not your responsibility to manage another person's feelings. If you're a parent, for example, then it probably is within your role as a parent to help your children understand what feelings are and how to manage their own feelings. But there even comes a point when it's not your responsibility even anymore once they're an adult. You can't manage other people's feelings. You can't even manage other people's thoughts, but you can manage your own mental conversations and you can learn to generate your own feelings from the inside. Very interesting. For what it's worth, guys, I just decided to cut the camera on and talk for a few minutes. It's been a very long 3 years for me.